So, Marcello, we have a return of the king, and that is our Monarchs. What an amazing deck it was when it first was released, and then it made a big comeback because of this little guy, Tree-born Frog. Its ability to come back every single standby phase was just amazing. You always had somebody to tribute for your Monarchs, and even do some really crazy combos with enemy controller where you could play it directly from your hand and get Tree-born Frog back twice in one turn. What a combo.
And yeah, not only that, the card was just unique in a way where it worked even if you discarded it from the end, so just another way to get, some advantage. And this meant that some of those trap cards that lost popularity due to them being a technical -1, such as Raigeki Break or Phoenix Wing Blast, they came back. And well, that meant that you had so many tools available thanks to Tree-born Frog, but if you just put a card back on top of your opponent deck, why not make it true with what was Raiza, an amazing tool of the new wave of Monarchs, we could say, and the card was just absolutely crazy. Due to the popularity of face-down monsters, you could just send a card back, then use the Wing Blast, and basically put your opponent 2 turns back, and that was absolutely ridiculous. But I think the throne of MVP, I think, gotta go to this fellow right here, Caius, the Shadow Monarch. This just completely changed the definition in Yu-Gi-Oh! Of what a good tribute monster was gonna be from that moment onward. This card is insane. If you like Time Wizard, and especially 2010, I think you have seen this card plenty of times because it dominates in a lot of different decks, and it's so versatile. And I think for all favorites, this meant that you could play both the old ones, both the new ones, and I think playing attributes, all different Monarchs, thanks to this fellow once again.
So, we're going to take a trip through the gateway to Dark World. We're going to talk about Silver and Gold, the two first iconic Dark World monsters that were really played heavily. They were one of the first themes of cards that really had one mechanic that bound them together, which was that they would get summoned back from the graveyard whenever they were sent there, whenever they were discarded. And one of the cool things about them was whenever your opponent would send them there as well, they would get additional effects like discarding cards from your opponent's hands.
It has been one of those decks where it's so unique, but still was able to get so much success throughout the history of the game, because whenever you take it for granted, whenever, it just nicks in there, it can get free wins. And this deck is actually first and foremost the deck that has won the largest ever Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament in YCS Long Beach, so that's one incredible accomplishment, again in a format in which nobody saw it coming. But most importantly, I have an interesting memory about this, because in the history of the game, unfortunately, there has always been one Italian world champion, and that is Dario Longo. But to just put it into perspective, sometimes what it takes, he was facing in the finals against a Dark World deck, and his opponent was holding 4 Dark World monsters and a card, and he had Spirit Reaper, and he took the gamble. He attacked directly with the Spirit Reaper, and he managed to discard the only non-Dark World card, claiming the World Championship. And that, if that's not Heart of the Cards, I don't know what is.
Right, Marcello, it's time to enter the world of chaos. Darkness and light combined into the envoys of beginning and end. First, let's talk about Blackluster Soldier. Used for a very long time, right up until even 2009 with the Twilight Light Swan deck. Such a powerful card, being able to just banish any monster on the field or getting that double attack in was so powerful. Back in the day, during 2005, being able to destroy 2 monsters with one of your own monsters, or even just banishing monsters back then, was so incredibly powerful. We've talked a lot about Dandelion throughout our compilation. Dandelion doesn't like being banished.
Absolutely not, and the card has remained, as you've mentioned, competitive for multiple years, but again, for fans of Time Wizard, 2005 is quite popular, and I can tell you that Black Cluster Soldier is by far the, most the scariest monster out there. It's a threat to be reckoned with, and you should always keep that in mind while playing during that format. But at the same time, when things begin, at some point they do end. They must end.
Exactly.
And well, what a way to end them that with Chaos Emperor Dragon. I gotta say, for players who have been following the game for a lot of years, maybe scrolling through some of the Forbidden Unlimited lists outside of seeing the card back in the day, you might have saw a card called Yatagarasu, and you might have wondered,
just a small, innocent little bird.
Exactly, so innocent. What it does, simply when it deals direct damage, which seems already quite impossible to accomplish, your opponent just keeps their next trophies. Nothing to be worried about. Well, let me tell you that card paired with the Chaos Emperor Dragon and Void of the End was one of the first, if not ever only, loops in the game where you could essentially skip your opponent from ever having a draw phase for the rest of the duel, because the Chaos Emperor sends all of their cards to the graveyard, and then if you attack directly with the Yatagarasu, they have no cards, they skip their draw phase, it's tough to play without any single card.
Yeah.
And that was why these cards were paired with each other, and then eventually also received an errata. But they're still amazing boss monsters, so just pick your favorite. Is it the beginning or is it the end?